Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being well-informed. Today we're jumping right into something huge in healthcare, these staffing shortages.
Oh, definitely. It's everywhere.
It really is. You see it in hospitals, clinics,
Yeah.
constant demand. And that brings us to Marcus. He's our case study for today.
Right.
He's a CNA, wants to become an RN, and he had this vision, start a nurse staffing agency right here in California.
A really common ambition now.
Exactly. His goal was simple, really. Connect licensed nurses, CNAs, LVNs, RNs with the facilities that are just crying out for them. Bridge that gap.
Makes perfect sense on the surface.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Marcus's journey, it's a fantastic example. You've got this entrepreneurial drive hitting, a wall of rules and regulations.
Sounds all the time.
So our mission today is to follow his path. We want to turn what he went through into a clear roadmap for you, the listener. Maybe you're thinking about this yourself, or maybe you just want to get how these things work legally in California.
It's a really important area where business ideas meet some pretty complex healthcare law.
A real deep dive.
And what's fascinating, like you said, is Marcus saw this need before he even finished his own RN license.
Proactive, right?
Totally. Shows real initiative, but it immediately flags that core question. How do you build this business around healthcare pros without actually being a healthcare provider yourself?
That's the crux of it.
Because a nurse registry, definitionally, it just facilitates assignments. The nurses are self-employed independent contractors. The registry itself, it doesn't provide patient care.
Okay.
And getting that distinction right from the start, it's fundamental. Everything else hinges on that.
That's a super important clarification. So Marcus's initial plan, operate as nurse partners. He figured, form an LLC, act as the middleman. Simple enough, right?
Sounds logical.
But yeah, nope. He ran into hurdles, regulatory hurdles, legal ones. And the very first big question he hit was, okay, what is a nurse registry according to California law? What's the official definition?
That's the absolute starting point, and it's where people can get tripped up. The law's pretty clear. It's a business that assigns licensed nurses.
Assigns them.
Right. To provide services, usually under a doctor's direction. And like we said, these are private duty, self-employed nurses, independent contractors. And the big lesson Marcus learned right out of the gate was nail down your service model, define it clearly. Because if you misunderstand that,
You go down the wrong path.
completely the wrong legal path, wasted time, wasted money.
Which leads right into his next big headache. The business structure.
Ah, yes. The classic LLC versus corporation question.
He leaned towards an LLC, like most small businesses probably would. But then he wondered, wait, this involves nurses. Do I need a professional corporation?
That's a really common point of confusion, especially when healthcare terms are involved.
Right. You hear nurse and think professional.
Exactly. But for Marcus's registry model, a professional corporation, or PC, it wasn't actually necessary.
Oh, okay. Why not?
PCs are generally for licensed pros who are personally delivering the service. Think a doctor's practice or maybe a solo nurse practitioner treating patients directly.
So because the registry isn't treating patients.
Correct. It's placing the professionals who do. It sidesteps that PC requirement.
Okay, so no professional corp. What about the LLC then? That seems like the default.
Here's where California throws a curveball. For this type of business, a nurse registry or staffing agency, an LLC is generally not the recommended route in California.
Really? Why is that? I thought LLCs were popular.
They are, but California law and tax structures often make them better suited for things like, say, real estate ventures.
Yeah.
There can be some tax disadvantages and less favorable legal precedent for service-based businesses run as LLCs.
Huh. Okay, so if not a PC and probably not an LLC, what's left?
The structure Marcus landed on and what's generally recommended is a general stock corporation.
Just a regular corporation.
It's pretty much your standard flexible corporate structure. But then you combine it with an S corporation election with the IRS.
S-corp. I've heard of that. That's
Yeah.
a tax thing, right?
Exactly. It's a tax status, not a separate legal structure. It lets the business profits and losses pass through directly to the owner's personal income taxes.
Ah, so you avoid getting taxed twice. Once at the corporate level and again personally.
That's the main benefit. It avoids that potential double taxation you can get with a standard C Corp while still giving you that corporate liability protection. For many small service businesses like a nurse registry in California, it often provides the best mix of liability protection and tax efficiency. It's about setting up that solid legal foundation. It affects everything down the line: liability, taxes, even how credible the business looks.
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah.
Get the architecture right first. But nope. California strikes again. He found out that name might actually get rejected by the Secretary of State.
It can happen. California has these pretty strict name-style guidelines.
Even for the name.
Oh, yeah. The Secretary of State can reject names that use words commonly associated with a professional corporation, words like nurse or nursing, if the business isn't a professional corporation.
Even though it's a nurse registry. That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but the rule is there to avoid confusion, basically. They don't want a regular corporation implying it's a licensed professional practice when it isn't.
So how do you avoid that trap? Pick a name without nurse in it.
Not necessarily. The smart move, the practical solution Marcus found, is to reserve the name you want with the Secretary of State before you actually file your incorporation papers.
Ah, like a test run for the name.
Exactly. You submit the name, they check it against their guidelines, and they tell you if it's likely to be accepted. It saves a ton of hassle.
Good tip. Avoids having to rebrand before you even start.
Yeah.
What's next? What are those absolute must-dos to just get legally operational?
Right, the non-negotiables. First up, you need a local business license.
From the city or county?
Yep, wherever your main office is located. Standard procedure. Then, something really specific to nurse registries in California. You need to file a $3,000 surety bond.
A surety bond. What's that for?
It's basically a financial guarantee. It protects the public and your clients. If the registry does something wrong, causes damages, there's this bond money available. It has to be filed with the Secretary of State.
Okay, $3,000. Is that a one-time thing?
No, and this is critical. It has to stay active for at least 24 months if that bond gets canceled for any reason.
Uh-oh.
The registry legally has to stop operating immediately
Right.
until a new bond is filed and active.
Wow. Okay, so keep the bond active? What else?
You officially register your corporation with the Secretary of State that's filing your articles of incorporation, then get an employer identification number, EIN, from the IRS.
That's like the business's social security number, right? For taxes.
Exactly. You need it for banking, taxes, hiring if you have employees eventually. And one more thing. If you operate under a name different from your official corporation name.
Like Nurse Partners, if the corporation name was, say, Marcus Staffing, Inc.
Precisely. You need to file a fictitious business name statement, or DBA, doing business as. You file that locally, usually with the county. It just lets the public know who's actually behind the brand name.
What about the day-to-day? What are the ongoing rules Marcus had to follow to keep things legal and ethical?
Yeah.
The nitty-gritty compliance stuff.
A huge piece is nurse contracts and record keeping.
Okay. What needs to be in those contracts?
They have to be really clear. Key disclosures, fee schedules, how much the nurse gets paid, how much the registry takes, assignment policies, how disputes are handled, how either side can terminate the contract. It all has to be spelled out.
Transparency.
Absolutely. And then the record keeping has to be meticulous. For every single assignment, who the nurse was, who the patient or facility was, what services were provided, the dates, the fees charged, everything documented.
Sounds like a lot of paperwork.
It is, but it's essential. And that transparency extends to fees overall. You need to post your fee schedules publicly, keep those records for a year, and importantly, give the nurses monthly statements.
Showing what?
Showing every assignment they work, the hours, the rate, the total earned, any fees deducted, total clarity on the money side.
Makes sense. What about verifying the nurses themselves?
Critical responsibility for the registry. You have to thoroughly verify the license and experience of every nurse you place.
How deep do you have to go?
You need to document that you inspected their license, check its status, note the expiration date, make sure they're qualified for the assignments you're giving them. It's about patient safety, fundamentally.
Right. And are there rules about the type of work? Like, if a nurse is doing injections or something more complex?
Good point. Yes. If the services involve direct medical practice, things like injections, medications, wound care, those generally need to be done under standardized procedures.
Meaning what?
Meaning there should be protocols in place signed off by both a supervising physician associated with the facility or patient and the nurse performing the task. It adds a layer of oversight for more complex care.
Okay. So what about things Marcus absolutely couldn't do? Red lines?
Definitely some big no-nos. Prohibited practices. First, you cannot charge nurses a fee just to register with your agency.
Okay, no upfront fees for nurses.
Correct. You also can't misrepresent job placements, promise work that isn't there, and absolutely no dividing fees or giving kickbacks to doctors, hospitals, or anyone for referrals. Huge conflict of interest.
Right, keep it clean.
And if you charge a fee for a specific placement that then falls through, you have to refund it. Finally, there are patient disclosure rules.
What do you have to tell the patients?
You have to give them written notice stating clearly that your business is a nurse registry, not a home health agency. There's a legal difference. The notice also needs to explain how they can file a complaint if needed and provide contact info for the regulatory bodies.
So everyone's clear on who they're dealing with and what the rules are.
Exactly. It all weaves together to protect the nurses, protect the patients, and ensure the registry operates accountably. It's a framework for safety and transparency.
That is a lot to keep track of.
Now, something else entrepreneurs often think about, those ads you see, right? Incorporate in Delaware or Wyoming is business friendly. Did Marcus look into that? Like, could he incorporate elsewhere to maybe avoid some of California's rules?
The out-of-state incorporation question. It comes up all the time.
Yeah, sounds tempting, right?
It sounds tempting, but for a business like Marcus's, a nurse registry operating in California, placing nurses in California, it's what I call a costly distraction.
A distraction, no benefit. Pretty much zero benefit and extra cost and complexity. Here's why. Even if you incorporate in, say, Delaware, you still have to register that Delaware corporation in California as a foreign corporation doing business here.
So you don't escape California registration.
Not at all. And you still have to pay California taxes on the income earned here. And crucially, you still have to comply with all of California's specific laws and regulations for nurse registries that we just talked about, the bond, the contracts, everything.
You just end up paying fees in 2 states and dealing with 2 sets of paperwork.
Exactly. You're adding cost, adding administrative burden for no real gain in terms of regulation or tax savings in this scenario. The bottom line is, if your operations, your staff, your clients are in California, you're playing by California rules. Where the company paperwork is technically filed doesn't change that operational reality.
That's a really clear explanation. Okay, let's wrap this up then. Thinking about Marcus's whole journey, if we distill it down for someone listening who's inspired to start their own nurse registry in California, what's the essential roadmap?
It really comes down to a few key steps.
All right, step 1.
Choose the right structure. Likely that general stock corporation with the S-Corp tax election. Avoid the LLC trap for this specific business type in California.
Okay, step 2.
Nail a name. Reserve it first with the Secretary of State to make sure it's acceptable and avoid using potentially restricted terms incorrectly.
Step 3.
File that $3,000 surety bond. It's non-negotiable. And keep it active.
Right. Step 4.
Get your licenses and registrations sorted. Local business license, state corporation registration, federal EIM. File a DBA if needed.
Got it. Step 5.
Contracts and records. Develop clear, compliant nurse contracts. And set up a system for meticulous record-keeping for every single assignment.
Okay. Step 6.
Follow all those consumer and professional protection rules to the letter. Fee transparency, nurse verification, patient disclosures, no prohibited practices.
And the final piece.
Get help. Seek experienced legal counsel early on. Don't try to navigate this maze alone. Ensure you're fully compliant before you run into problems.
So what's the big takeaway here for you, the listener?
Marcus's story, it started with this clear ambition, but he hit these unexpected hurdles. It really shows that success isn't just about the idea. It's about understanding and, frankly, respecting the rules of the game. You can't just try to sidestep the regulations.
No, you really can't. Informed entrepreneurship is key.
It is. Knowing the landscape is as vital as the service you want to provide.
And looking at this whole process for just one type of healthcare business, the nurse registry, it really gives you a window into the broader healthcare industry, doesn't it?
How so?
You see this constant tension. Urgent needs driving innovation and new business models, enormous potential for impact, but layered over with these really stringent, complex, but ultimately necessary regulations designed to protect people.
Right, a balancing act. Exactly. And it makes you wonder, looking forward, as technology keeps changing how we connect professionals with jobs, apps, platforms, how are these fundamental rules going to adapt? What new compliance challenges are waiting for the next Marcus, the next generation of healthcare entrepreneurs?
Yeah, it's a great question to leave people thinking about. The intersection of innovation, need, and regulation is constantly shifting.